Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. I'm your presenter today. In the Middle East, tensions are escalating as Iran marks 40 days of mourning for its late supreme leader, Khamenei. The U.S. has also accused Israel of violating a ceasefire in Lebanon, while China's Xi Jinping has offered unexpected support to Donald Trump's stance on the conflict. We'll take stock of the war's latest developments and explore the implications of Tehran's warnings about the Strait of Hormuz. Let's dive into the news recap of this volatile region. As Iran observes a somber 40th day of mourning following the passing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, protests and rallies are taking place nationwide. Mourners in Iran have begun ceremonies marking 40 days since the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The rallies come as part of a traditional mourning period in Islamic culture, known as Mawlid al-Sayyid. In Tehran's Jamhuri Islami Square, mourners gathered wearing black to pay their respects to the late leader. The 40-day mourning period is significant because it is believed to be a time when the deceased person's spirit returns to earth. In Iran, Khamenei's death was seen as a major event that has left a power vacuum. His successor, Ebrahim Raisi, took over as supreme leader but faces challenges in maintaining stability and unity. The rallies mark a turning point in Iran's mourning period, with many Iranians expected to attend the final day of mourning on November 3rd. The turnout is seen as an indicator of public sentiment towards Khamenei's legacy and Raisi's leadership. Iranian authorities have maintained tight security measures around Khamenei's office in Tehran, where some mourners gathered earlier today. The streets were closed to vehicles, and police presence was visible on the streets. The significance of this mourning period lies in its impact on Iran's domestic politics and international relations. As a major world power, Iran's leadership change has significant implications for regional dynamics and global security. The world will be watching how Raisi navigates the challenges ahead, particularly given the ongoing conflict with neighboring countries and the U.S.-Iran tensions. With Khamenei's death, Iran is entering an uncertain period, marked by both mourning and anticipation of a new era under his successor. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, Iran has launched a fierce response to what it calls deliberate U.S. violations of a fragile ceasefire. Tensions in the Middle East have escalated as Iran has accused the United States of violating a ceasefire amid ongoing Israeli attacks on Lebanon. The situation took a dramatic turn when an Iranian delegation was set to arrive in Islamabad for peace talks with the U.S., but its arrival schedule was put into question after the Iranian ambassador's social media post was deleted. Ambassador Reza Amiri Moghadam had announced that the Iranian delegation would arrive tonight in Islamabad for serious talks based on 10 points proposed by Iran. However, the post was removed shortly after, sparking uncertainty over the arrival schedule. An official at the Iranian embassy later revealed that the post was deleted because of some issues, but declined to provide further details. The U.S. has confirmed its participation in peace talks, with Vice President Vance set to lead U.S. negotiations over the Middle East war in Islamabad this weekend. Pakistani authorities have stepped up security in the capital, deploying hundreds of additional police and paramilitary forces ahead of the highly anticipated talks. The situation is significant because it marks a potentially significant diplomatic opening to end the war in the region. The peace talks are seen as an opportunity for the U.S. and Iran to find common ground and reduce tensions in the Middle East. However, with Israel's ongoing attacks on Lebanon, the situation remains volatile, and any breakthroughs will be closely watched by regional powers and international observers. In a surprise move, China's President Xi Jinping has reportedly offered key support to U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts in navigating Iran's escalating tensions. According to sources from Bloomberg Politics, a high-stakes diplomatic effort by China has helped convince Iran to slow down its retaliation against U.S. forces in the Middle East. The situation took a dramatic turn after Iranian forces shot down a U.S. Navy drone last week, prompting Trump's self-imposed deadline of 60 days to de-escalate tensions. As tensions escalated, China stepped in with an unexpected offer. Beijing proposed a ceasefire and hinted at providing economic assistance to Iran, according to officials familiar with the matter. The move was seen as a significant shift by U.S. allies in the region who are wary of escalating the conflict further. In a surprise development, Chinese President Xi Jinping personally intervened on behalf of Trump, urging Iranian leaders to show restraint and avoid further escalation. Beijing's overtures appeared to carry significant weight with Tehran, which had been preparing for a possible military response against U.S. forces. The sudden intervention by China has implications for U.S. policy in the region, as it highlights the country's limited ability to achieve its objectives without international cooperation. The crisis has raised questions about Trump's leadership and the ability of his administration to manage complex global conflicts. Details of China's involvement remain scarce, but sources indicate that Beijing is seeking to reduce tensions with Iran in part to secure access to Iranian markets and resources. As the situation continues to unfold, officials on both sides are working towards a potential ceasefire agreement that would ease the worst fears of diplomats and prevent further escalation. As the death toll continues to rise and international pressure mounts, we take a closer look at where the war in Iran stands now. The conflict in Iran has now entered its 41st day, with a fragile ceasefire holding. The agreement was brokered by Iraq and the United Nations, after weeks of escalating tensions between Tehran and Washington. According to U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, the deal brings an end to the worst crisis with Iran since the 1979 revolution. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has welcomed the ceasefire, saying it marks a victory for his government. However, on the ground in Iran, the impact of the conflict is still being felt. Infrastructure damage and military losses have been reported in several provinces. The U.S. has taken a different view, with President Donald Trump stating that the Islamic Republic's leadership has undergone a significant change. The Trump administration believes this shift could lead to a more pragmatic approach from Tehran on regional issues. But experts say this narrative is unlikely to be supported by the evidence. Regime change would require a level of instability and chaos that simply doesn't exist on the ground, says Mark Jones, an Iran expert at University College London. The Iranian leadership remains firmly in place. As the international community waits to see how this fragile ceasefire holds, concerns remain about the long-term impact of the conflict on regional security. The situation also raises questions about the role of external powers and their influence over domestic politics. With the Trump administration's comments adding fuel to the debate, analysts are urging caution when assessing the implications of the Iran crisis. It's essential to separate fact from fiction, says Jones. The situation in Iran is complex, and it will take time for a more nuanced understanding to emerge. As tensions between Iran and the U.S. escalate, a concerning development has emerged that could significantly impact global energy supplies in the region. Iran has issued a warning to vessels transiting through the Strait of Hormuz, stating that they may be hit by anti-ship mines due to the ongoing state of war with the U.S. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps made the announcement on Friday, just hours after a Pakistan-brokered ceasefire between the two countries was confirmed. However, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the White House have disputed this, claiming that Lebanon was not included in the agreement. The warning comes as tensions remain high in the region, with oil prices continuing to fluctuate due to the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has maintained its military presence in the area, with President Donald Trump vowing to restart attacks against Iran if the ceasefire is breached. All American military personnel will remain stationed around the region until the agreement is fully complied with, he said. Bigger and better and stronger attacks would follow if it was not. Iran's deputy foreign minister has condemned Israeli attacks on Lebanon as a grave violation, while UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has called for urgent inclusion of Lebanon in the agreement, describing Israel's actions as an escalation. The situation remains volatile, with over 250 people killed and more than 1,000 wounded in Israeli strikes in Lebanon in the last 24 hours. As tensions escalate, it is clear that the fate of the fragile ceasefire hangs in the balance. With the U.S. and Iran at odds, and Israel's involvement complicating matters, the region teeters on the brink of chaos. That's all for today's news recap. We'll continue to bring you updates on the ongoing tensions between Iran and the U.S. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. We'll be back tomorrow with more in-depth analysis and breaking news. Until then, good night, and we'll see you next time.